Hello and a warm welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. My name is Obiageli Ugwoke. We'll begin with the headlines. Nigeria's President Mohammed Buhari reads Riot Act to bandits and terrorists as 2020 Chief of Army Staff lecture holds. Minister of Information urges local media to counter negative stories by telling the Nigerian story as it is. African Union says trading activities on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement to begin January 1st, 2021. And now the details. President Muhammadu Buhari has warned that any acts of hooliganism hiding behind lawful and peaceful protests will be dealt with decisively. Declaring open the 2020 Chief of Army Staff Annual Conference virtually, the President was emphatic. There is no compromising in the peace and stability of the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
I want to reiterate our government's commitment to the rights of citizens to embark on peaceful protests. However, this must be done responsibly and in accordance with the laws of the land.
President Muhammadu Buhari may have been responding to reports on plans by NSAS protesters to return to the streets for another round of protests. He commended the armed forces for their efforts at swiftly restoring law and order during what he called the large-scale criminality that ensued in the wake of the last protests in parts of the country.
Let me also use this opportunity to commend the Army for its unwavering commitment towards curtailing the activities of insurgents, armed bandits, kidnappers, cattle rustlers, and other violent criminals through ongoing exercises and operations in different parts of the country. Notably, the exercise Sahel Sanity, launched a few months back in the Northwest states to rid the Katsina-Zamfara corridor of marauding bandits. I am happy to note that the commendable progress has been made towards attaining the objectives of the exercise.
The president also noted the tremendous successes achieved by troops during the ongoing Operation Fireball in the Northeast, insisting that these efforts be sustained until the full restoration of peace and security. And with the establishment of the state-of-the-art Cyber Warfare Operations Center, President Buhari said the army in particular has remained alive to the changing nature of warfare, which is gradually moving into the cyber domain.
I commend the visionary leadership that has worked assiduously to emplace this vital capability that will fill an existing gap in our nation's security and defense architecture. On our part, I assure you that this administration will continue to do all within available resources to provide for your operational and welfare needs. We must strengthen our collective resolve to address those issues that will make every part of our country a safe and secure place to live and carry out our normal businesses.
The president is delighted that some of the major capabilities procured for the army will soon be inducted into the various theater of operations, as many more await shipment to the country. The conference has as its theme human capacity development in sustaining professionalism and responsiveness of the Nigerian army in the discharge of its constitutional roles. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And from the National Assembly, the House of Representatives says that any statement that does not emanate from the recognized minority leadership or majority leadership caucus does not reflect position of members and should therefore be disregarded. In a statement, Chairman of the House Committee on Media and Publicity, Benjamin Kalu, says comments in circulation calling for President's impeachment credited to Representative Kingsley Chinda of the PDP does not represent even the weakest opinion of the minority caucus of the 9th House, as he lost that opportunity having failed to secure the position of minority leader now occupied by Ndudi Elumelu. The statement stressed that the House will not be distracted and remains focused to have an interactive session with Mr. President to enable members make inputs to solutions he is seeking. In the meantime, the Minister of Information and Culture, Mohammed, has called broadcast practitioners in the country to take the lead in telling Nigerian story in order to guard against distortion of facts by a section of the foreign media. The minister gave the challenge while inaugurating the 89.3 FM station on the stable of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria in Oyo State. Anthony Fosin reports.
Calling on the nation's broadcasters to take the lead in telling the Nigerian story, especially by informing the people about the various programs and policies of government and their impact on the people, the minister pointed out that it is dangerous to cede such powers to foreign media organizations.
A situation in which foreign broadcast stations arrogate to themselves the power to tell our own story gives room for distortion of facts, the type of which we saw recently when CNN reported that 38 people were killed at Lekki toll gate.
He was quick to note that a situation where local media organizations rely on foreign media and even quote them is dangerous and must stop. To underscore the power of radio, the minister referred to this website, www.lifelineenergy.org, which says radio goes where new technology can't, making it the most potent way of delivering information to remote areas where having the right knowledge can make the difference between harvest and hunger.
And the local broadcast media linked up its billing. CNN, we have relied on them for news about NSAS in particular and other happenings in Nigeria in general.
He commended the Chairman House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, Olusegun Odebumi, for initiating the project, which is today the first radio station to come on stream by a parliamentarian. And to the people of the area, he implored them to take ownership of the station and guide it jealously. Olusegun Odebumi said, information is power and less effective without the means to transmit it in order to counter fake news and hate speech.
What we are commissioning today will hopefully remove our people from the circle of lack of proper information-based ignorance to a new dawn of well-informed society.
Director General of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Mansour Liman, expressed gratitude to President Muhammad Buhari for his continued support for the growth of the FRCN.
We, the management of FRCN, can only say a big thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do to make sure that FRCN gets the right funding within the limited resources of the government to be able to discharge our responsibility of providing information, educating people, and also entertaining the larger populace.
Religious and traditional rulers who graced the occasion all expressed gratitude to the federal government and the member representing their constituency for the honor, saying they now have the capacity to listen and be listened to. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Let's take a look at political developments in Ghana now. Commitment to democratic rule is a guiding principle as more than 17 million Ghanaian voters troop out to elect a new president. The presidential and parliamentary elections have been peaceful, as ECOWAS election observers mission confirms. Musba Danwahab reports from Accra.
Ghanaians go to the poll for the 8th consecutive time since the country adopted a multi-party democracy in 1992. Joseph Adama Okine has not missed any of the rounds.
And this is a critical time. Now I'm going to make a choice. That's why I'm going to vote. And that's the best policy that we adopt. You say you tell your mind, I also tell my mind, and then we go.
The election is more fine. We need peace for Ghana. That's why I come and vote.
It's a patriotic spirit Ghanaians have kept close to heart as more than 70 million registered voters make choice for our new president. Security is not an issue, but that did not stop other business of the day. Ghana has maintained a stern stand against COVID-19 spread, and in this election too, no compromise.
The rule says everybody should put on a nose mask before voting. So without a nose mask, we will walk you out and then go and buy a new one and then come.
From the eyes of the former Liberian president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a pool of observers across the country, ECOWAS has kept close watch of the situation.
It has started on time, the voters are moving, the officials, the polling, the representation, the agents of the parties are all here. So for us, it's moving well. It's in the Ghana tradition of a smooth voting process.
Ghana Electoral Commission promises to release the results of this election in 24 hours, but a candidate must poll more than 50% of the total vote cast to emerge winner and avoid a runoff election. In Accra, Ghana, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
Many thanks, Musbah, for that report. Joining us via Zoom to discuss the Ghanaian election is Professor Osman Mohammed, Chief Executive Officer, Center for Legislative Studies in Africa. You're welcome to NTA International, Prof.
Thank you.
The Ghanaian election is at its peak right now, since voting has closed and the collation on the way. How has the politicking been?
Yes, by the way, this is the first election after the great leader of Ghana, J.J. Rawlings, may his soul rest in peace. And I think it's a tribute to him, who had seen Ghana through about 8 transitions. Having said that, the campaign had been relatively very peaceful, with presidential debates talking about the economy and then the entire Ghanaian society. And you must know that Ghana has a stable transition with every election. And what is remarkable is not only the campaigning and the politicking, but the transition itself from one opposition party to the other had been relatively very peaceful. So I think that is very remarkable, and we'll see that also happening now.
Now, the two leaders, Nana Akufo-Addo and John Mahama, as main contenders out of the 12 presidential candidates, harp on the economy. How different are their approach to this issue?
Yeah, it's almost the same. It's a dependent capitalist economy with export on oil and cocoa, and then their budget is relatively dependent on those exports, just like Nigeria. But the revenue that is generated is prudently allocated in capital projects. And I think that they will see stability in the economy, because definitely both the parties they represent have serious patriotic commitment to nation building and away from crisis and conflict issues. So I think that we are not going to see much difference. They will continue on that path.
What can you say about the upcoming Parliament of Ghana?
Well, 275 members are going to be elected with the new president, or the president can continue. Well, we might likely see an opposition dominating the National Assembly of Ghana. If that happens, there will be coalition, and Ghana will move ahead. Else, if they maintain their status, they will still have majority in the House. So I don't think there will be much problem with the 275 members that are to be elected today. We are going to see a very relatively stable Ghana with the parliament having a very calm deliberations and dialogue and issues of national development. Ghana have been remarkably doing well in Africa in the political and democratic.
We hope the peaceful process continue to the end of the election. Thank you very much, Prof, for sharing your thought with us. That was Professor Osman Mohammed, the Chief Executive Officer, Center for Legislative Studies in Africa. Let us take a break. We shall be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Hey, beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight. Now reading page 3. Experience unlimited superfast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Glad to have you back. Let's take a bit of agriculture now. The federal government has restructured the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative with a view to strengthening the policy and boosting local production of the farming inputs. Musa Babaliu has the details.
The Presidential Fertilizer Initiative was introduced by President Buhari-led administration primarily to eradicate corruption in the procurement and distribution of the farming input. While the objective is being achieved since inception, the government is reviewing the terms and conditions agreed with fertilizer producers as well as the subsidy attached to the policy.
The primary role of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture will now be quality control, price, and delivery. There is no more ministry participation in the production or selling of fertilizer. That is not our business now.
The government will, however, provide subsidy to all registered farmers in the country. And the subsidy will be attached to each bag of fertilizer purchased by farmers. Minister of Finance Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed announced 4 major changes in the agreement with fertilizer blenders.
All fertilizer blending plants participating in the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative now will have to provide bank guarantees to cover requisite raw materials appropriate to their demand-driven production in order to substantially reduce risk to the NSIA. 3, all blending plants are to handle their transportation logistics, recover their production costs and profits through the sale of their products in the market.
This means that there will no longer be fixed price to each bag of fertilizer. However, the products will be available at affordable prices to farmers. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Away from agriculture, trading activities under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will begin from January 1st, 2021. The decision was adopted at the virtual 13th Extraordinary Summit of the AU Heads of State and Government on ACFTA. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
The African Continental Free Trade Agreement among 54 of the 55 African Union nations that made up the AU aims at creating an African market of 1.27 billion consumers with a cumulative GDP of about $3.4 trillion. Chairperson of the African Union, who is also the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, during the summit said the African Continental Free Trade Area signaled a new era of progress for the continent.
The commencement of trading under the AFCFTA on the 1st of January 2021 is one of the most significant milestones in the continental integration project. In the context of global developments on trade, including threats to multilateral system, the treaty is more critical than ever.
He also appealed for greater trade opportunities for women in the process and elimination of non-tariff trade barriers among member states. President Muhammadu Buhari, represented at the meeting by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, described the feat as a collective dream of past and present leaders on the continent who desire to build Africa with shared prosperity in peace and development of the citizens. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
And on global COVID-19 updates, Britain's healthcare providers are gearing up to start giving the first dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. This is just as UK-EU talks resume in final push for trade deal. Justin Bermonye brings us details on global news updates.
Britain's healthcare providers are gearing up to start giving the first doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, less than a week after the United Kingdom became the first Western nation to approve a COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccinations are set to begin on Tuesday in England, Wales and Scotland. The process, which is complicated by the need to store the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine under strict conditions and give each recipient 2 doses 3 weeks apart, will be closely watched from around the world. Meanwhile, Indonesia says that 1.2 million doses of China's experimental COVID-19 vaccine have arrived in Jakarta in good condition. The vaccines were received from China's Sinovac Biotech Limited late on Sunday. Indonesia plans to vaccinate 9 million people with the experimental vaccine this month, according to a senior government minister. In the meantime, global confirmed cases of COVID-19, as indicated on the Worldometer dashboard, now surpass 67 million, as Nigeria Center for Disease Control says Nigeria now has recorded 69,255 confirmed cases. In other news, talks between the UK and EU have resumed as the two sides make a final bid to reach a post-Brexit trade deal. Disputes over fishing and business rules are continuing, but the UK government said agreement was still possible with time in short supply. And from Africa, reports have it that a doctor in Ethiopia's Tigray regional capital says at least 27 people, including a 4-year-old, a 78-year-old, and a family of 4, have been killed in fighting between federal and regional troops. But a statement from Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's office on Monday says there have been no civilian casualties and refers to Tigray regional forces as a criminal clique. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Bermonye.
Thank you, Justin, for that report. And on exploring mining potentials, the mining sector in Nigeria will play a key role in the nation's economic revival post-COVID-19 to effectively tap its potential. The federal government is developing a mining data bank to attract investors into the sector. Minister of Mines and Steel Development Olamilekan Adegbite, who spoke at a forum of Nigerian Society of Engineers, Buhari branch in Abuja, therefore challenging Nigerian engineers to position themselves for a vast opportunities for wealth and job creation the sector can offer. Kelvin Evonware reports.
Beside agriculture, the mining sector is tipped to have the potential to rapidly aid Nigeria's economic recovery post-COVID-19. To do this effectively, the sector has to be attractive to investors who usually rely on accurate mining data, a document expected to be presented to the international mining community early next year.
We are getting a lot of interest and we're attracting a lot of investors to Nigeria. Except for the COVID-19 pandemic, that slowed things down this year. By now, we should be having results from the initial exploration project that has been done.
To take advantage of the many opportunities available in the sector, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Buhari branch, is to expose its members to training in new technologies in the sector, a project the new chairman, Halimat Adediran, says is a priority. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
And on sports, Flying Eagles in May-Colmar encounter against Ghana at Wafu Zone B tournament. Bade Adeleye brings us more on sports updates.